Hello.
Hey Clay, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Good, thank you very much. Just chilling, man. How's everything going over there? Oh, you outside?
We outside, you have to get outside because it's 21 degrees. I don't even know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's 21 degrees Celsius in London
Oh,
today. So
you know what? I don't even know Fahrenheit myself. I'm still trying to get used to
I
it.
feel like 21 degrees Celsius must be like 80 or something. I don't know.
Okay, 21 degrees. That's nice. That's you're in London right now, right?
Yeah, I'm in London.
Oh, nice, nice. Thank you. Oh, you got your tea as well.
You got actually, my whole family are recovering from symptoms of COVID-19, so it's a bit crazy.
Oh my gosh.
We've been out for the last week, actually, just like not been able to do anything, not being able to do anything.
Oh,
So
oh my
um,
goodness. Are you all
it's a
taking
little
like
bit rough.
ginger and garlic?
Yeah, all of that. Like Caribbean parents. They're like, my mom like comes every morning. She's like, hey, you got to drink this. I'm like, what is it? It's like onions, ginger,
Tonic.
everything, apple cider vinegar. Like,
That's good, man. At least you all are doing something in order to, get yourself healthy. Oh, I see you growing out your beard, Clay.
oh man, this is involuntary. Like right now, like we're on complete lockdown in London, which has been a little bit crazy. Let me see if this. I'm sorry. Yeah, we're on complete lockdown in London, so we're not actually allowed to leave the house for the most part.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You know that they're trying to implement that here as well now in Florida. But, people still out there having boat parties and stuff. So nobody's
no,
taking it serious.
I can't stress like how like contagious this thing is. Like our whole family caught it within like days of each other. So I would definitely
Wow.
recommend people to just like pay attention and stay inside. Don't go outside if you don't need to. You just
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to. Like that's the thing. Like some people in our family, like Camille only had like a cough. I had like a fever, complete loss of taste and smell. I mean, I'll tell you off the record what I can't smell, but you can imagine I can't smell a lot of things.
Oh my goodness.
For real, and like can't taste a bunch of stuff. So, but it's wild. But we're doing a lot better right now. And
Hmm.
today I started to smell a little bit, so just praying and hoping it's gonna be good.
Yeah, everything's gonna be fine. You're getting better. You're starting to smell again. All your senses are starting to come
Right?
back. So
Can you
it's a
hear
good
me
sign.
okay?
Huh? Yeah, the family's
Can you hear me
family's
okay, or do
okay.
I need to change my?
Yeah, yeah. I can hear
Okay.
you okay. I can hear you okay.
Good,
But yeah, all
good.
right, cool. Thanks guys for tuning in. My name is Anita with Black Travel Summit, and I'm here with Cle Hunnigan, founder of Win Collective. He's decided to join me today. He's been so kind as to give me the pleasure to see his face, and I love the
Oh,
grown-up
thanks for
beard,
having me.
Clay. It's looking dope. I'm
Okay.
hoping that you and your
Uh,
family are, getting better.
no,
So
honestly, thank you.
so, so tell me, for people who are, followers of Black Travel Summit and may not know, although I doubt much people don't know, about Clay and about Win
What?
Collective, etc. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and Win Collective and kind of like its mission.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Clay, short for Clemar, short for Mario Clemar, the whole shebang.
I
Um,
didn't know that. That's beautiful.
I'm a part of a travel creative community called the Winds Collective. Essentially, we travel around the world. We host people monthly in a different destination around the world, and with a big focus on cultural immersion and creating content, especially video content. And so that's a lot of what our days look like, traveling and creating video content. So yeah.
Oh, cool, cool. So Win Collective. Win Collective is this initiative that focuses on group travel, and it's very diverse, very multicultural. You have people of all different ethnicities and backgrounds
Wow.
coming together to create like such amazing content just around the globe. What kind of like sparked your desire, your passion to travel and to create such amazing content?
Honestly, I feel like the best businesses or the best initiatives come from the things that come most natural to you or the things that you want to explore. I feel like those beautiful things are formed in the overflow, in the overflow of everything that you're expressing at a certain time. And a few years ago, I kind of had my own dealing with life and coming to faith and stuff. And a big part of that was travel, and like finding balance in my life again took me like going like hitchhiking into the Middle East because I was obsessed with like people's stories and I wanted like a change of scenery. And so I decided, okay, I want to be here. It's a different environment. And I can like pick up my pen again, and I started writing again. And I remember at the time I was like, man, like I would really love to tell better stories and visual stories. And then I remember that I didn't know how to use a camera at the time, so then I like um, partnered up with some friends who were filmmakers, and I started producing their work. And as I was producing their work, we started collaborating, and I started writing more of that stuff, and then eventually picking up a camera and shooting myself um, on the photographic side of things. And then eventually, like people kept asking to like go on these trips with us, and at first I thought it was a little bit bizarre, to be honest, because I was just like, why you want to come to like we're just creating, like we're just being ourselves. And people were like, yeah, but it looks dope. So we had a shoot planned in Morocco, and I called up Doyen and Camille, my sister, and we were like, hey, like let's plan this trip to Morocco. And we like released this trip to Morocco on Facebook. We wake up like over our next series of days, and it's like 25 people signed up, and we were like, what?
Wow.
So that was our very first trip, and it was amazing. We were shooting like 4 brand videos at the time, like hosting 25 people simultaneously, which is a lot like what the Wing Collective looks like today.
Awesome, awesome. Now, forgive me if you did say this, but how long ago did this kind of like whole journey with Win Collective start?
This is always such a difficult question, right? Because I feel like in terms of like the business that pays taxes, that started like a year and a half ago. We're a registered business, like I feel like the vision for this was like birthed in, I don't know, I feel like the first time I realized that I wanted to do this was when I was like 21, which is crazy because that was obviously like 7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But then I felt like over time it just grew. Like I remember when we first started telling stories, I like went to the Middle East to do that, and then I like started with journalism because that was what was in my hands, right? Like I was like, I don't know how to be a filmmaker, but I know how to write, so I just started there, right? And then like I traveled more and more, and then I went to South America when I picked up my camera, and it was like, okay, now I'm in South America and I've evolved a little bit. Now I'm like writing short stories, but I'm taking photos too.
Yeah.
And then started producing work out in Europe, coming back to Europe, and then it was like, okay, now this is the evolution. And I think the Wing Collective now is not only my evolution, but it's the evolution of people like Doyen and Camille and Barney, as they've evolved with their story of like their love for travel and their love for creativity. Together, we've come together and formed this thing, the collective. So
awesome, awesome. So for those of you who don't know, I met Cle last year, the beginning of last year, during his Miami Win Collective trip, and I also met his sister as well. Amazing, amazing. Love your sister. Just love all of you guys. You guys are amazing. But I do know throughout the times of starting to get to know all of you guys, that you guys have had kind of like a lot of experiences in life. And for one in particular, a natural disaster that kind of like brought you guys to London from the Caribbean. If you don't mind sharing that with us, that would be really interesting.
That's so interesting actually, because not many people ever ask about that, but I guess because that's so amazing. 2004 we had a really big hurricane that took away everything my family had at the time. We were declared completely homeless, and we were evacuated to the U.S. And it was a wild experience because it actually brought the family really closer together, and changed our lives completely. I think also that's probably where the birthing of new visions, new dreams, new faith, new ideas for travel even came about. Because like as a 12 or 13-year-old having to move around like that, because I remember we moved to Miami because that's where we were evacuated first, and then we were moved to Tennessee because that's where my brother was in university, and his university was helping our family financially at the time. And then we moved from there to London because that's where we could legally live. And even when we got to London, we were still declared legally like homeless for a while until my parents got back on their feet. And then I guess like just moving around and like finding that there were like, I remember getting to a place and being like, okay, culturally this is different from that place, but people are the same. Like people still laugh, people still share moments, people can still form friendships. And I think That's kind of one of the things that inspired me to travel, and things that I don't know that made it easier for me to travel and maybe not be based anywhere, which I think is a big question I get. People are like, wait, why? How can you do this? Like, how can you possibly
Yeah.
not have a base? And for me, I think it's that like home. You start to find home in people when the place that you called home has been uprooted, which is what
Yeah.
happened in the Caribbean. So
That's really interesting. You know, it's interesting how different people will act, or how a different experiences affect people differently.
yeah,
And some people may just kind of like be in like completely traumatized, and kind of have difficulty going through life. But it seems like you and your family kind of like just took this and absolutely made the best of it, you know. And you guys are doing your thing right now. And how do you feel that like a situation like that? Do you feel like it has affected your faith, or do you feel like it's built it and made it stronger?
um, my faith actually, I would say so. It's interesting because I grew up of faith from a Christian family,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't say I started finding my faith, like my personal faith, until I was about 21. Um, on that journey, I kind of hit this big bout of like dropped out of law school, went into like kind of my a few like depressive months, and I remember my dad was just like, "Hey, you need balance." And I remember thinking I was gonna find my faith or find a relationship with Jesus in the church. And for me, like I also found that on the road. So I went to Israel first, and I was in Jerusalem. I ended up staying there for like up to two, like over the course of like 2 years, but at
Wow.
that time just like 3 months consecutively, and then
Yeah.
um, I came back to London and then found a community of creatives at our church, Hillsong London, which is like creatives, musicians, filmmakers who were all my age and all had this like faith in Jesus. And I thought, whoa, that's wild. I never thought there were like people my age that also believed in
Yeah. Yeah.
it. A little bit wild. So like that built my faith as well. The hurricane, I would say, built my family's faith more than anything. And like for me, it's a reference point. But for them, like so many of my family, like that's where that solidified their faith. But the faith journey as a family, like we've been on that for a while. Um, and you're still growing. Like I think that's the thing. Like I think
Yeah.
even now, like crisis, you don't need a hurricane. Like we've got COVID 2019 to build your faith.
Oh
like
yeah.
so,
It can
so
either build it or, you know, weaken it, you know.
yeah, exactly.
It's
So
different. All right, so I heard somewhere amongst all of that that you said that you went to law school. How did that happen? And how did you kind of like make that transition over?
so that was an interesting one. I feel like growing up, our parents kind of like always pushed us to just do like as much as we wanted or as much as we were good at, and like really honing in on the things that we were good at. And I feel like we like I've always been like pretty good at school. I've always been like quite I love studying. I love reading, like,
Hmm.
and I did that just like growing up. So I was quite like academic growing up through high school and stuff. And then but at the same time, I was really into the arts, and so I was really into like creative writing, acting and dancing and all that stuff. And so I actually auditioned for Juilliard. Here, you're getting the hot sauce. Auditioned for Juilliard,
Ooh, okay.
made it through to my second round, and got the boot. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna apply for law school, and if I get in, and then I applied for law school and I got in. So I thought, okay, this is the route I'm gonna take. So I went to law school, and then I was just like, during law school, I was just like, this is so long. Like I don't want to be here. I don't feel like I exhausted my creative options enough. Like, so I told my parents I was gonna take a break, and
Hmm.
in that break, I was kind of like making music, and
Hmm.
then and like experimenting with this was my like bad boy like phase, believe it or not. Experimenting with all kind of different fun stuff at the time, but uh, that I just grew out of, and like I just felt like there was more to my life, and that's when I found faith. That's when I found travel. And I remember it wasn't like a big. I think that's the thing. People expect it to be like, okay, I'm gonna save this much. I didn't have much saved. Like I didn't save money for travel. Like I just had some money saved up,
Yeah.
specifically, and then I went, okay, I'm gonna go now, and I'm gonna go experience the world. And then I met people along the way who then influenced me and were like, wow, like you could do this, or you could, why don't you come here with us,
Hmm.
like, and that's literally it. Like I remember I landed in Tel Aviv with Camille. We were
Hmm.
there for 10 days. Camille got back in the plane on the 10th day. I met a dude in Jerusalem on day 7 who was like, "Hey, you should stay longer." I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I was like, "Wait, people actually stay past their holidays? Like, that's crazy." You know, like, I was like, "You don't have a job to go back to?" And he was like, "Man, like, you can get a job again." I was like, "That's true. I guess so. I'm 21, right?" So I just left it. I left it, and then we were in Jerusalem and it was raining, and I was like, "Oh man, this sucks. I didn't want to stay for the rain." And he was like, "Well, there's a place like down the bottom of like Israel right now, like on the border of Egypt and Jordan. We can go there. It's not raining." And we just like went down there and then started our journey and then just hitchhiked to the pyramids. It was crazy. Like,
Oh,
it,
that is
it was
good.
wild. But that was a long time ago. I don't recommend hitchhiking if that's what you think.
So I know Juilliard is regretting that decision to bring you on board right now.
Oh man.
So for those who haven't seen, Wind Collective and Clay and, the whole gang's kind of like creativity, obviously definitely go on their website, on their Instagram page as well. Check out their trips, check out their content. What is it's kind of difficult because I'm a believer that most people are born with creativity, but that it's something that not only comes from within, but do you believe it can be taught?
Oh, yeah.
And then also, what are kind of like some tips? What can you tell some people in regards to creating like dope content like you? Somebody said, "Hey, like, Clay, I want to create some dope stuff as well. Like, can I do this? Like, what would you advise?"
Honestly, like creativity, like I mean, I believe when I say, okay, when you say you believe we're born with it, I believe every human being is born with
Yeah.
creativity. Honestly, like, creativity is really just like, I mean, we're such a unique species as human beings because we have the ability to imagine futures. You
Yeah.
know, like we have the ability to hope, unlike unlike what we know of so many other species. Like,
Yeah.
so many other species live right in the now, in the moment. They're thinking about their needs, and we're sitting here and we're imagining futures and we're building futures, which is, I think, is like an unreal ability. And I think like our aim then is to foster that creativity in every
Mm-hmm.
single thing, and like whether it's taking a photo or whether it's telling a story, whether it's creating a film. Like, I think it's our duty then to go out and actually like um, to harness that creativity. I think creativity grows in community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it grows like alone. I think you can start building um, you can build your style and stuff like that alone, but like your influence and the things you're influenced by, or the way you share that with the people around you or the people that are closest to you that can actually speak into your creativity or give you feedback on that. I think also creativity comes with risk. If you There's no way you're going to be creative if you don't harness risk and if you don't practice risk. You have to be willing to throw as much of it on the table as possible to get the return equal to that.
Yeah.
It comes with vulnerability. It comes with putting what you think's your best work out on the table to find out that
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't your best work.
Yeah.
But actually, the thing is it's like stages, and there's no way you can get to stage 10 without first like doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's impossible. And so creativity has to be practiced. It has to be honed. I mean, there are like some things that you can do. Like, for me, like, I prefer creating in community because like you hit those moments where you feel like, oh man, I'm not good enough, or I can't execute the idea that I have in my head. And that's why with the Wing Collective, with the creative side of that anyway, like I really enjoyed building that community with these guys because there were ideas that I had in my head as a writer that I wouldn't have been able to execute as a filmmaker without the help of, like, say, like Barney, where I
Yeah.
was like Barney, who then at the same time, who had like spent all of his time on film until he grew up. By the time we met, he was like 23, 24, and then he had never written a script in his life. Then we had this thing where we had both worked on together separately, but together we were able to create something that people look at and they're like, whoa, like, this is crazy. Like, so I think it's two ways. Like, you create in community and you hone your skill. You practice your skill and you risk things with that. So yeah.
Awesome. So what is it that, I mean, I know that you have like this passion for creating and this passion for traveling as well. What else is it that kind of like keeps Wind Collective as a collective going? What is it that drives you and your team to continue to provide this kind of like amazing service for people?
Honestly, like, I think it starts with stories, and like not just, I mean, on the creative side, it's storytelling, but even with the trip side, I think it's all about stories, you know, and it's all
Yeah.
about one person's story being influenced by them going to a place
Hmm.
and experiencing a culture, experiencing a people, experiencing another story, and then bringing that back to the people at home, because that was my experience. I would go
Yeah.
away, I would like gather all of these like stories and experiences and things I'd seen and things I'd eaten, and I'd come home and family and friends would be like, "Wow, we're living through you." And so I was like, man, like it would be really cool if these people could just come and experience these things for themselves.
Yeah.
And I saw how much travel changed me, and I believe travel can change lives. So I'm like, if travel can change lives, if travel can break racism, if travel can break prejudice, if travel can bring the world closer because we start to understand each other's humanity, then
Hmm.
actually the good thing about that is if more people experience it, then those people go back to their worlds, they influence their worlds, and then those people start traveling. And so, like for us, like we're just here as a part of what I'd say is the solution, you know, to a lot of the things going on in the world. Like if we just actually bring or give people the opportunity, because a lot of people don't know how to travel, or like they're not sure how to experience a place, or they and everyone's got it in them, but not everyone's willing to like risk it, you know, and that's the thing.
Hmm.
So we're just there to help that process like be a little bit easier, to facilitate these cultural experiences. The trips are very much designed in the way that we travel, and so they're a little bit more grassroots, they're a little bit more cultural,
Hmm.
you know, like things that there are things that are optional. Like if people want to party, they can party, because at the end of the day, like that's not an experience that I have to help you find. Like, you know, like you
Yeah.
can go and do that. But like if that's what you came to do, but like I think what's really really interesting is like allowing people to have conversations that they might generally, like if they had gone to a place, they might have felt like intimidated to have, or you know,
Yeah.
like maybe they would have felt like a little bit standoffish, or maybe they would have stayed at the resort because they just felt that maybe they weren't allowed in a certain place. And so we're there to facilitate conversation and the interaction, or the meeting of stories. So yeah.
Hmm. All right, cool. So one thing that I love about your trips is the give back session. What can you kind of like tell people a little bit about that?
So it's so interesting because Wing Collective, like I remember again, it's coming from this place of like this combination of like I'm traveling and I'm meeting so many people, and there's so many. You start to like, I feel like you start to bear burdens of the world as you're traveling, and
Yeah.
you start going to certain places and seeing like different things. And I remember Camille had just come back from India, and she was like, "Hey, if we do this, we should like implement like you know, a give back element where we like
That's
choose an initiative." And at first we were like, okay, yeah, let's choose like a blanket initiative and like do it. And then we were like, no, but the more we traveled, the more we realized that there were certain initiatives that were particular to certain places.
true.
We were like, that's interesting. So that's when we started like choosing initiatives that are particular to certain countries. So like when we were in Miami, like there was a big push for us to do stuff with the homeless. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
we went to like a soup kitchen, and we ended up like volunteering there as a community.
Hmm.
In Brazil, we worked in a favela with like education initiatives with kids.
I love
Um,
it.
in Morocco, we tend to work with like street kids that have been like abandoned on the street, or like left to fend for themselves, and like been
Yeah.
taken by like education or psychosocial programs. And we tend to choose something that's specific. In Bali, like there's a big push on like cleaning up the beaches. So in Bali, we did something a bit more environmental, and we chose to clean up the beaches together as a community and to play our part there. And
Hmm.
so like I think our giving back is really about going to a place and not just taking. Because I think we go and we travel and we're like, let me take this experience, let me take all this food, let me take all
Exactly.
these
Yeah.
all of these things. And actually, it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
well, what can I give here? And so it's like half a day. Literally, it's like half a day of your time. Like we're doing it as a whole community. Like so,
Hmm.
everyone's getting involved. Like when we're cleaning rubbish, we're like getting lit, like cleaning rubbish. We're like turning music. We got music pumping. We're like picking up trash. Locals see it, they love it, they get involved,
Yeah.
and so everyone's like doing something, but we're giving back to that place, you know. So
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Now, so as an initiative, you know, you guys are out there, you're doing your thing, you're traveling. I know that you've probably had a few people ask like, hey, so how can we join you guys? I want to travel with you guys, you know, and not just kind of like on that like guest kind of platform, but also like joining you as a collective. What do you think about creating local opportunities for, you know, for people who are just interested in traveling, you know, like not like the bigger companies like Skyscanner and Trip Travel and stuff like that. What do you, as a local company, how do you feel about creating local opportunities? Is it important to you?
Wait, can you specify a little bit? So you said not on a guest level? Can you explain?
Yeah, so not like, for example, somebody that's interested in coming on your trips, but kind of like creating local opportunities for individuals who might be interested in joining the Win Collective, or just in general, like for companies, like other companies that are out there doing their thing and doing group trips. And what do you think? What are your thoughts about creating opportunities, like not jobs or careers, but just kind of like opportunities for people to kind of travel with you guys and you know create with you, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, I think the big or the big like problem that I guess a lot of people have is the financial side of it, really, which is like, because we're moving all, like up until last year we were moving like every month we were in a new country.
Yeah.
And so that got, like, I think for some people, like, they love the idea of it, but it would be expensive for them to do that. Yeah. But what we have been doing actually is spending like 3 months in a place. So last year we did like 3 months in Bali, and we just invited like creatives, like our friends or friends of friends, to come down, either to like get an apartment nearby or to stay with us. And we had a few projects that we worked on. So we worked on the Being Black project. And while we were there, we had some friends come and just like collaborate on that. Work together, like go on like some local adventures, set creative challenges, and like work on those together just to kind of like grow. But that's more about like discovering creativity again in community, you know, and harnessing that. We will continue to do that as long as we're allowed to travel and stuff. We will continue to host those like longer period of times where we know, okay, the majority of the Win Collective are in Bali, or the majority of the Win Collective are currently in Colombia. And so like people will be allowed to come down, to hang out, to create, and to learn from the guys, and also like for our guys to like, for us to learn from people if they have stuff to share, you know. That's the thing, like Barney always, like there's always like another creative filmmaker or someone who wants to, or an editor who wants to learn from Barney, and they come and you know, I think they just make the effort, right? They just go, okay, like I want to learn from this guy, and they reach out to us, and they just come, and they're just like, all right, well, how can I add value, you know? And I think that's the thing, like this whole process of us traveling together is just us going like, okay, how can I add value to another person within this collective? Or how can I add value to the story that we're trying to share, or to the vision that we're trying to share with getting more people traveling and bringing the world closer together. So, yeah, I mean, there's always that opportunity for people to like come along. People ask us all the time, and so we're never really sure. Like we're like, because it seems like the obvious answer is like, well, you just come. Or if you mean as a guest, then if you want to come as a guest, you go to thewincollective.com, you book, and you sort, right? But I mean, like, if you want to come and like experience this, I mean, there's been that crossover too. There's been people that have come as guests that have like gone on to like work with us, which is amazing. Like Ebbs, the heart stylist, is a very good example of that. She came, like you met her, she hosted our Miami trip. But she actually came as a guest on our Dubai trip, you know, and she was like starting out blogging, and she was like, how can I learn from these guys? And she just came as a guest, and now she like hosts along with us and stuff like that too. Another way for people to join us, this is less for like filmmakers, or not less for filmmakers, because you do have some people that cross over, but are those trip planners. We're always looking for new destinations. Like it's so important for us to go like further than we like could ever imagine, because I think like they're all the like trend spots, you know. You've got your Balis, you know, you've got your Thailand, you know, you've got your Colombia, you've got your Cuba, and I'm like, okay, we either gonna go to those places and show like new perspectives of those places, or like let's take people to places that they never imagined they could have gone to, you know. And like obviously we haven't been everywhere, and like even if we had been everywhere, we haven't gone deep into everywhere. And so we're always looking, and we always put out calls for what we call creative explorers, which are people that are that would consider themselves experts on a particular destination. And we invite those people to help us plan a trip and come and host the trip with us. And that allows that person the chance to travel, to create, to collaborate with our team as well. And yeah, and like it's always good, because then we get some of our brands behind that to help sponsor it and stuff too. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome, awesome. What are some skill sets? I mean, of course, we can kind of see like skill sets that have developed over the years, but what are some life lessons that you've learned during your travels? Not just as a Win Collective, the founder of Win Collective. What are some of your experiences that you've learned throughout the years, even before Win Collective as well, while you know during travels?
So I would say the first thing that I learned is like every person has a story.
Yeah.
Um, and like I remember one time being completely mind blown by this idea of sonder. I don't know if you guys have seen this like the definition of this word sonder, and it means something like every person everywhere has a story as uniquely like infinite as yours, as your own, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
people like you're like walking around and you think people are just like projections of you, but actually everyone's layered and like everyone has like fears and everyone's been
Yeah.
through love or had their heart broken or like all of these
That's
things and I'm
true.
just like, huh?
That's true. That's deep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that's the first thing I learned while traveling because I started to find like I think I remember I was like kind of down and like feeling a little bit hopeless at one point during the travels and just like hit like a really sad spell at the beginning of my travels. And I remember hilariously meeting this Palestinian dude
Hmm.
actually and he was like talking to me and he ended up sharing like a really like he was atheist, you know, but like he had no belief, but he ended up sharing this like very hope filled message with me that it's so funny because like on a good day, that's the kind of message of hope that I would share that I would have said would have come from Jesus, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
isn't that crazy that like he can like that beauty and love and truth exist like throughout humanity,
Yeah.
regardless of our race and regardless of our religion. And if we really are open to that and looking for that and finding that and being willing just to like to share it, like we actually can learn so much from each other. So I would say like that's the first thing I learned. Like people have stories, they have moments to share that you can learn from them. You can learn from anyone and everyone, from like the child who like um stops you in your tracks and has you stop thinking about like what you're shooting to just like being engaged with them in that moment and like playing with
Yeah.
them like on a random beach, to the elder that you'll meet like sitting around a fire who's just sharing a story of their childhood or their past and you're like, whoa, like this is mind blowing, you know. And I think everyone can teach you. Like honestly, I've learned that. Like, and I remember. I mean, it's so interesting because that's. I'm gonna go on a whole roll now, but
Listen, I don't mind.
well, no, because I mean, I was gonna say like it's so interesting because I feel like when we created parts of the Wing Collective,
Hmm.
we noticed that quite naturally because our founding team, well, apart from Barney, but our founding team is black, you know, and like we
Yeah.
noticed that it meant that a lot of the travelers that were coming was black, and like that was fine
Hmm.
for us because we were like, well, these are just people that look like us, and you know, we know this
Yeah.
experience, and
Hmm.
we can share and cater to this experience, you know. But as we did that more and more, we realized that like there were like people would come in and like it would open the conversation or the door to conversations that we assume should have happened but shouldn't have happened. So like Barney is from Hungary, right? And
Yeah.
they're from Eastern Europe, which they had their own they have their own culture, like they
Yeah.
have their own like idea like of how things work. And so
Hmm.
like they would come and there would be this cross cultural conversation that would
Hmm.
happen that would be like, wait, shouldn't this have happened or shouldn't you know this or like whatever? And it was just like, no, like this is beautiful or it's happening or like, you know, like the other day we had really cool cool amazing like traveler, like probably one of my favorite travelers who came in from Australia.
Hmm.
Beth, if you're watching, I don't know who she is, but like and she is one of my favorite travelers because like she really embodied what the Wing Collective was about. And I remember her just like meeting like Rachel, who's like been on a few trips with us now. Like she's like a Wing Collective staple, you know, like
Yeah.
and she's like amazing. And these two girls like they got along so well. And I was thinking, man, like when you're here as the facilitator to be able to bring people from all over, like I think that is more mind blowing for me than like because I feel like there's only one story that matters. It's a human story.
Yeah.
Now, our like that doesn't deny our experience. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. That doesn't
Hmm.
deny our experience, and there are some things that like I believe that like we're not gonna be able to share. You know, we can share that, but that's not a shared experience. You know,
Yeah.
and like and we will always like be open and catering to those experiences. That's what Being Black Project was about. You know, this is about a celebration. This is a celebration of Black excellence, and this is a celebration of
Yes.
who we are as Black people. But at the same time, like the conversation that gets to happen when we realize that, hey, there's the human story, you know? And like, I think that's something that even COVID-19 is reminding us right now. Like, there is a human story that
Yeah.
supersedes, that is above every other story, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that was one really long way of saying everyone has a story, which is the which is the biggest thing I've learned on my travel. So I think that's definitely enough.
So what are some challenges? I know we talked about all the beauty, you know, that comes along with traveling, and then also creating this initiative, this collective that you created. What are some of the challenges that you and your team have faced over the years?
I think growing any small business can be a little bit difficult. I think we were quite lucky in that we had like a business that had two sides, and so we were kind of like, okay, well, we're like pitching brand campaigns, and as we're pitching brand campaigns, which is essentially just marketing and advertising campaigns, we would do that, and then they would go in hand with the trips. So we were able to do that. But like scaling any of those businesses individually, you know, like it requires people, it requires time, and so that's been like a big thing, I would say, or a learning curve, like really learning how to be an entrepreneur. People think like, you know, you just have it, you know, like, you know,
Yeah.
you have it, and then like one day you wake up and all of a sudden you're doing like 5 a.m. wake ups, and like, you know, like, you know, you grind it out, you know, and you're working like 3 jobs, and you know, you're like actually it's like there are days when it's just like, man, I have no idea what to do, and like, you know, like on those days, like it's the power of community that comes together, you know, and like the community that you work with that are able to like go like, all right, guys, like let's rally, let's join forces, let's bump heads, let's collaborate, let's brainstorm, and come together and show what we can like and what we can build together, you know. And so like I feel like so that's been definitely one of the biggest challenges, building a business just on the like business side of it, and turning it from a passion, you know, flipping it from just like a passion,
Yeah.
where, and I think it's a good thing to start with, because that's the thing. Like I started the Wing Collective when there was like me and my friend Joseph in Guatemala with a camera and a pen, and it was like, hey guys, we're the Wing Collective traveling through Guatemala like years ago, and like no one was coming, everyone was like, what's the Wing Collective? And we were just
Yeah.
we were sharing vision of what we thought this thing could be, but we did it for passion. We did it for no money, you know? And then when money starts to come in and brand campaigns start to come in, and like you realize that like people start actually investing in this, then you have to learn a new set of skills, you know? And like, so I actually spend way less time being creative in the traditional sense now, and more trying to figure out how to run a business and how to lead, you know? Like that's the thing. Like when people buy into your vision, I mean, like people within our team, like, you're also there to like, I think to feed them and to also like make sure that they're growing, you know? And so like, I feel like the leader becomes the servant, you know, the leader's role then is to serve, you know, the entrepreneur's role, like, or like people think like the CEO is there to like lead and just like be over it. No, he's there to be down in like the trenches, like with everyone, and like actually like, being in a team is, I think, one of the best things you can do is to surround yourself with people that are better than you,
Yeah.
and like more skilled than you. I'm probably like, without sounding like we all have our different skills, but there are so many things that like I just would not be able to do without like any of the guys on our team. So like it's just crazy, and like I think that's the most important thing. I think those challenges that we've faced, we've actually been able to overcome because like of the strengths of our team individually, which is like really cool.
So kind of continuing on with challenges, what has COVID-19 meant for you and the team?
Yeah, it's wild. It's honestly, of course, it's mind blowing. Of course, we've had to cancel trips, and of course, everyone's scared. You know, like actually, not even like we canceled only one trip, but we actually postponed a few others, and because those postponed, just a bit of context. So the postponed ones are like Colombia and Cuba, which were like pretty like full like trips that people were like, oh my God, like I want to go on. And like people generally have been like, okay, as soon as COVID-19 is over, I'm ready to go again. So we've just been like, well, there's no point in canceling that. Let's just postpone it. you know, and let's like have it ready to go like as soon as we're allowed to travel again, you know.
Yeah.
And so we've had to obviously put some of our trips on hold quite naturally because of the bans in the places, and like it just seemed like the most sensitive thing to do as a travel company. That if I mean if we care about the world, then we
Yeah.
should also care about the people in it, you know, and like both the people that are coming on our trips and their families and their extension, and the people and the places that we're going to go visit. So it just we just had to take a break on that, but it's meant that we can focus on other things, like, you know, our the good thing is we had a lot of our retainer clients that we create for that we produce video and photo content for. We've been creating
Hmm.
content for them for months, and so we've got a lot of that video and photo content in the pipeline,
Hmm.
and that we've been like just pushing out to our clients and stuff as well. So we've been focusing on the agency side of that and building things on that side, and just planning more trips, like more than ever, because like I guess this thing can't last forever, right? Um,
Hopefully not.
we say with like absolute hope, like please don't let it last forever. But yeah, like we're hoping that it doesn't last forever, and like, but even then, like, you know, I want to encourage people, like if even if it, I mean, even if there was a new normal after this, you
Yeah.
know, and there will be, you know, whatever that new normal looks like it's not time to like give up on your dreams, you know, it's just time to like pivot, you know, like it's time to like sit down, like nothing great is like born overnight, like I told you, Wing Collective is like maybe like a year and a half old as like a business, but actually it's like a 7-year dream, you know, like it's like
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's not something that we just like thought up one day and then it was like bam, this is it, you know, like our first trip had no one, then the as in like our first like idea trip had no one when we put it out, but then the second trip of like had 25 people overnight, you know, and like it's like
Yeah.
things will go, you'll go in waves, and like you'll learn, and like that's been how I've dealt with this perspective, that even if it gets to a point where it's just like, okay, like that was a good run and I learned so much from it, and now I'm ready to build a new business. Now I'm ready to build something beautiful.
Hmm.
I don't think it's gonna end up there, but you never know, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's just like people should just be prepared and just be creative, you know, like just don't let anything like like this is just like, I mean, we're way too resilient as like a species, like the human species, to let this like null our creativity, because that's the thing they can't take. I remember calling Barney, who is like,
Hmm.
by the way, like one of my closest friends, and obviously like Wing Collective looks after Wing Collective Video. And the guy's like, I remember me being like, oh my God, what about trips? And he was just like, Clay, but they can't take our minds. They can't take our, like, nothing can take our minds or our creativity. And I was
Wow.
like, why do you have to make everything so simple but so true and so beautiful,
Yeah.
right? Like you're like, this
Yeah.
is it. Like, okay, like what's the worst that can happen? Like you're still a creative. You still have your mind. You still have the potential to ideate, you know, and to create. We still have community, even if that community is online right now. I mean, it's obviously better if we can touch each other and, you know, like, and see each other face to face. But like, we can still ideate. We can still create together. And so, yeah, I mean, I just encourage people to have that perspective in the season and just think of it as a season, like, you know?
Yeah. No, no, it's true. What is, I know that you kind of touched upon it like quite a bit actually, which is great. But what is some other advice that you can give to entrepreneurs that's just out there trying to make it, you know, and they're seeing groups like yours just absolutely killing it. And a lot of people unfortunately do lose hope. What is some advice that you can give some people to kind of like keep on going and keep like kind of like pushing through with their
Number
businesses?
one, just don't lose hope.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the first thing. Like honestly, like if you're in a season where it's like nothing is taking off, maybe it's like just
Hmm.
acknowledge the season. Maybe it's a season to grow, you know, and
Yeah.
like grow personally. Maybe it's a season to learn. Like because you don't want to be at that place where finally you get all these people around you and you actually have nothing to bring to the table, you know?
Yeah.
Like because you didn't spend the time learning and you just had a vision or like an idea, which
Exactly.
nothing is wrong with having a vision, because don't get me wrong, that's a part of the process too. Being the vision carrier is so important, you know, and
Hmm.
the person that can carry vision when everyone's technical abilities don't carry them anymore, because they're like, I just created this video and no one watched it, you know. And
Yeah.
like it's the person that carries the vision that is able to play the part, that is able to go, come on guys, come on, we can do this, you know. And like
Yeah.
I think everyone plays their part. So I think work on your part, whatever that part is, know your gifts. Like as much as I think it's important, like so for example, like, you know, I'm really interested in like photography.
Hmm.
And like, you know, I work on that in my own timing, you know, like I don't sit down and edit like 500 photos. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll edit like 10 photos a day and then I'll be like, okay, this is enough for today. And like I just like go and like I do my thing, you know, but like and but that's not the first thing that came natural to me. The first thing that came natural to me is ideating and writing and like putting ideas
Mm-hmm.
together. And so like I spend my time growing in those things, you know, and like and investing in those things so that when I walk into the room, I can be my best at those things and allow someone else to be the best photographer, allow someone else to be the best filmmaker. You know, like you can
Mm-hmm.
be informed of their process without needing to be the best in the room because that's just pointless. You can't be the best at everything, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Um, and so I would say like for entrepreneurs, that's the second thing. Like get around people that are better than you. Like definitely get around people
Mm-hmm.
that are more skilled than you. You cannot build alone. Like you have to be. It has to be something so amazing that you would be willing to build alone, but you cannot build alone. Like
Yeah.
that's be willing to like, man, I would put my whole life on the line for this. Like
Yeah.
even if it was just me, I would do it. Yes, but don't do it. Like do not do it. Like get around people who can like invest in you, who can build you up, like who like I think you need those things. Like I have my friends who like are building businesses and other
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, being around other entrepreneurs. That's the other thing. Like I have friends that have multi-million-dollar businesses that are in completely different industries, but we
Mm-hmm.
share stories, we share success stories, we share failures because they are there further along in the journey. So when I say, hey, this is happening, they can go, actually it happened to me, but I know how to avoid it for you. And so they can encourage you. Like you don't have to learn. Like in a world of so many resources online, but also with people around us, like you don't have to learn or experience every mistake. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so get yourself around other entrepreneurs, definitely. Don't lose hope. Get yourself around creatives or whatever your business is, people within your business that are better than you and more skilled than you, I mean, at those things, and humble enough to just like realize that you're more skilled than them at some things, you know, and just kind of like realizing that you actually balance each other out, you know.
Exactly.
Um, and honestly, like one of the best pieces of advice I got, like actually from like my last job, I was at was a media brand, like a really big media brand here in the UK. It had its offices in the UK and the US and around the Middle East and stuff. And I remember I was speaking to the CEO of that company of like I think it was like 300 staff or something ridiculous like this. And he was talking to me and he was just like, Clay, like I love the idea for the Win Collective. He was like, it sounds interesting, but he was like, hey, if it's a 2 year job, just quit right now. I was like, what? And he was just like, and if it's a 5 year job,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, neighbors.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I still goes
Wow.
on.
And if it's a 5 year job, he was just like, just quit right now. He was just like, a 7 year job, just quit right now. I was like, what? He was just like,
Wow.
but if you're willing to stick this through for 10 years, he was just like, if this is something that you're willing to stick to for 10 years, you will start to see fruit. And I was like, whoa, that's not the first time I've heard that from a successful and CEO who's actually been able to
Yeah.
go stick something through for 10 years. If it's something that you're not willing to stick through for 10 years, then you should probably just give it up because nothing good or nothing great is born overnight.
It's gonna happen overnight. It's true. That's so true. Wow. That's deep. That was deep. So for somebody who travels for a living, what would you say, or what destination would you say has been your favorite so far?
Oh, God. This is like the question of death. What destination has been my favorite? Um,
Yeah. Sorry, you coming back through?
yeah, sorry. Um, destination has been my favorite. Oh my God, this is always so hard because I don't know. You can't like I don't know. Like this is so hard. I have like some favorite cities that make me feel alive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I really love Medellin, Colombia.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool. Yeah.
it's a dynamic city. It's also a really convenient city. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
city boy, even though I'm an island boy, which is crazy. Like I love my local coffee shop. You know, like I'm like so like I love Medellin as a city. There are some dynamic cities that are a bit more cultural, like Havana, which is really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of like Asia, Bali's a favorite, definitely. Also like an island, but like super convenient island. Easy to get around, like easy to navigate. Like I would say in terms of like countries that blow my mind culturally,
Mm-hmm.
Guatemala. Guatemala for its nature,
Yeah,
Guatemala for
yeah.
its culture. Honestly, like I hiked volcanoes there, saw volcanoes
Mm-hmm.
erupt, like went to
Oh,
magical
wow.
lakes. Like honestly, like that was a place that blew my mind with its people and its and its nature. So Guatemala is probably one of like my favorite countries, and I'm actually Latin America is probably my favorite region
Okay.
um, in the world. Um, that I've experienced or that I've explored enough of. And then for me, like a new region that I want to explore more of is definitely Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a whole continent,
Yeah.
I went to Ghana this last December, which was amazing. I was in Egypt and Morocco and
Mm-hmm.
South Africa, but I would love to do even more. So like my next big place that I really want to go to is Ethiopia, the
Yes.
only African country to have never been colonized. And
Exactly.
so like
Yes.
we're actually planning our January trip for Ethiopia right now.
Um,
Get to the team tomorrow,
might
which is
have to
really really
join you
awesome.
on that one.
Honestly, like it's mind blowing. When I just like that's the place that I'm really really looking forward to. Obviously we have a few Africa trips this year. Nigeria
Yeah.
happening this year. The pulse and power of Africa, you know, like
Love that
so.
Ghana and hear you say that.
Oh man, right? Well, God is its own thing. Like it's its own special. It's its own like like amount of life and vibrance. And so like I feel like that's the thing. Like all these places have um, different things to bring. I also feel like um, the African continent and Latin America are gonna be the big like pull in tourism. I think a lot of people are gonna be going there because it's like um, new places that have never been seen before. You know, like quite honestly, quite frankly, like I have friends like content creators that are like looking for a new thing. They're like we've all explored the waterfalls in Bali, you know, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's just like you can't explore. Of course, you've not explored every single one, but I mean, what about the Lake Malawi? You know, like let's go there. You know, like let's climb a mountain in Tanzania. You know, like let's like
Exactly.
like let's there's so much. Let's go. Like why are we going to the desert in Dubai when we can go to the desert in Namibia? You know, like it's insane. You know, like and all those places are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Like if that's your opportunity to travel, take them. There's no place on this earth that I wouldn't go to. So, um,
Awesome. Where would you
yeah.
live?
Oof. Oof.
Traveling and living is a different story.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I don't feel like anywhere has felt like I mean that's the thing. Like, if you put a time limit on any place, I can live anywhere. Uh, if you put a time limit on any place, I could live anywhere. In most places. But I feel like if you said, okay, Clay, you're moving somewhere indefinitely tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Um. Let's say COVID-19 didn't exist.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like I really love being close to the Caribbean and Latin America, but maybe somewhere stateside just so I could be closer to that. Like to be honest, from a place of like complete convenience, it's probably not somewhere romantic. It would probably be somewhere really convenient,
Uh-huh.
somewhere that had like the buzz of a city. Like I can't do like the thing is nature is really beautiful
Yes.
for inspiring you, but for me it doesn't inspire me to action. It inspires me to dream, it inspires me for vision, but when it comes to action,
Yes.
like it's the Londons, the New Yorks, the LAs,
Exactly.
like
It's true.
the Mexico cities, the Medellin's, the Rio de Janeiros that are like
Yes.
bang bang bang. I need to work, you know.
Yes.
So I could live in Rio for a while. Actually, that would be pretty awesome. I could live in Tel Aviv too. Tel Aviv, that's a dope city. Like really like um, tech savvy, tech forward. Miami is the place. Uh, I'm down for Miami. It's just that I don't drive. A 28-year-old that doesn't have a driver's license. I have my biker's license, my motorbike license. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
You
so
need that
Miami's a
driver's
bit spread
license
out.
here. Woo.
That's true.
You want to get around? Jeez, on bread.
So yeah, but yeah, no, definitely like stateside. I think would probably be the best option. Just because it would mean that I could be close to home, which is like
Yeah.
Jamaica, the Cayman Islands. I could be close to Latin America, where like I speak and practice Spanish a lot, and so like I want to practice that even more. So like being close to some of my favorite cities, which are like Mexico City, Medellin, Rio de Janeiro, like being close to all of those places. I think it would just be better to be on that side. Europe is beautiful though. Like I that's like the convenience of being able to go to any country in Europe and travel through that is definitely probably one of the most beautiful experiences ever. The south of France, I could also live there, definitely. I spend every summer in the south of France. I spend a period in the south of France every summer, and it's honestly so beautiful. Hello, hey, I'm seeing some friends. How y'all doing? Oh man.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. Do you have anything else that you want to kind of like give as an inspirational message? Like, you're so inspiring when I see your posts and stories.
Oh
What is the
my gosh.
inspirational message you can give to people today?
Um,
I love Cle too.
Be my friend. Cassie, you're so silly. Actually, so this is my girl Cassie. She runs a another really cool travel company called the Roman Republic.
Oh, nice.
Be my friend, please. She's so silly. We did a collaboration with them back in Morocco last year, which was like a crazy trip, a really cool trip. They run really cool trips too, so you guys should definitely connect.
Awesome.
She's from Canada. Canada,
hey, Canada.
And she's I mean they're pretty awesome. But I would say like yeah, I mean like I don't know, I feel like echoing like just what I said before, like I don't know, like now I think it's so easy to become like fearful and become like and down and like be worried about your business and like do you know what, like you know, like if you, it's so strange, like for me, like I see my business like as a God gift, you know, as a gift from God, you know. Like I see my business as something that was like given to me, and it was there for me to like facilitate and to harness. And the more I understand that, I'm just like, okay, it's here, and if it's here for a season, if it survives the season, then we're ready to go ham, you know, we're ready to go crazy, we're ready to be like, wow, like this is beautiful. And if it doesn't, then you're just like, okay, well, that's okay. Like there's going to be another beautiful thing that you're given as a gift to harness and build. And so I don't know, I just really like want to like encourage people to be like hopeful in this period, and to like get around people who can like also like encourage you to be hopeful. Like I shared with you earlier that I took like a few days off like Instagram. I was like not just off, like I deleted the app. I was like, I actually want nothing to do with this app. Like I was just like, because like for me it's just like it's so important for that. Like unlike also like yesterday, like I take rest days. Yesterday was like my first day in a long time where I was like a no screen day, you know, like no screen, no work. Like all my, like I saw all the messages coming through from work and I was just like, not my problem, like right now, because like you know, this is a day that like if you want me to be able to bring my best to the table, my best energy, all my hope, like everything to the table, then I have to have that day where I'm just like, let me cut off from the world and like and think about the things that matter, you know, think about the relationships, call those people that I haven't spoken to in a while, like think about my family, think about spending moment watching a movie with your family, like those things that are so important and that we often neglect, you know. And like the world can wait, and like I think that's also something that I love to like tell people, like, you know, the world out there that we're like dying to see, that we can't wait to get out of our house, it can wait, you know. Like there's so much right now, the world is healing right now, and it's a time for us to look inwardly and like to also heal and to like I remember someone said yesterday, like 3 months inside is nothing compared to like 1 week outside and then like dead, you know. Like it's like there's so much beauty that can be born inside, and I see people doing it. People are getting creative on TikTok, people are getting like crazy, like I'm just like, I wish I had the energy to like pick up TikTok. I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm that funny, so like I'm like trying to like verge into TikTok slowly, but honestly, I just encourage people to just like keep bringing like positivity. Like, you know, there's so everyone's talking about what's going wrong with the world. Like you don't have to jump on that bandwagon. You know, like you can share your truth. I'm not telling you to deny it. Like you can share your truth, you can share your worries, because that's what we're all here for, to share and learn and grow. But also you can be the person that people look at and go, you know, whenever I feel down, like I'm going to that person's page, they provide hope, you know, they provide me with a sense